Welcome back to the Weekly Cup. It's Eric Banghart, Manager of Global Sales, coming back refreshed and ready after a week break to help you up your wireless game with another edition of the Cup Series. This week, we'll get back to basics by going through some of the science of wireless applications and why utilizing wireless is good for you and your customers. Our own John Tanton, elite team member and trainer extraordinaire from our technical services team, will elevate your wireless expertise and share some compelling reasons to make wireless a part of your arsenal. Please sit back and let John drop some knowledge on you. As always, please keep those comments and questions coming throughout the presentation for the Q&A at the end. With that, John, take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, Eric. And good morning, everyone. Let me bring up my slides here, and today we'll be going into why wireless for commercial installations. So to kick things off, we have a quick poll question to test your wireless history knowledge. So who is regarded by many as the inventor of commercial wireless? We have Alexander Graham Bell, Nikola Tesla, Guglielmo Marconi, Henrik Hertz, and Amar Bose.
All right, John, I'm getting some answers here coming in. Let's just give it a moment so everybody has a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, it's looking like everybody's a little torn on this one. A little close. Okay, the responses are slowing down, so I'll go ahead and end the poll. And here's the results. Can you see that okay?
Excellent, yeah. Looks like we have some great guesses with a lot on the correct answer, Guglielmo Marconi. So the foundation of wireless communication technologies dates back to the 1800s. There are a host of contributors, including Alexander Graham Bell, Tesla, Hertz, Bose, and among others. But with his own inventions and building on the work of others, Marconi was the first to turn wireless technology into commercial success and personal wealth through the wireless telegraphy applications. So let us help you channel your inner Marconi and make some money. In this first section, we'll take you through some slides that speak to the basics of wireless science to build your knowledge of the differences in the capabilities of wireless technologies and how it can help your business and elevate your customer satisfaction. Some key principles that should help you be more informed and consultative about what makes a difference in wireless installations and where wireless makes business sense. Wireless is a wide variety of technologies that we use every day. In the 1930s through today, the FCC started and has continued to manage and control the electromagnetic spectrum and how radio bands can be used for limitless applications, many of which we don't even necessarily think of as wireless. Where we will focus today is utilizing wireless RF technologies in commercial security installations, which has now been around for decades. We'll keep the science to a minimum, but here's a quick look at the electromagnetic spectrum showing some recognizable waveforms. X-rays, visible light, popcorn in the microwave, even gamma rays, which are commonly used to battle invading aliens and UFOs. Just testing if you're listening. Now here in our radio waves is where our conversation today will take place. The scales up at the top give some idea of the size and scale of the waveform and the energy down at the bottom, which is needed to move the waveform. The key takeaway here is the only difference between all of these is frequency and wavelength. The attributes of a waveform help determine what's the right wave technology for the application at hand. Now to orient us a little bit, the electromagnetic spectrum here represents the magnified view of the radio wave portion and how these waves are allocated for different technologies. We have AM and FM radio. Below that, we have our TV broadcasting, Wi-Fi, narrow band frequencies used in residential wireless. And where we'll be focusing some time today is in the 900 megahertz frequency bands from 902 to 928 megahertz in the ISM band. Our key takeaway, manufacturers are limited to certain technical specifications, which in turn dictates which bands you can use and some of the parameters of these applications, such as your output power. So some of these frequency bands require an FCC license for use, and others unlicensed. Inovonics 900 MHz operates in the unlicensed ISM band and is FCC approved for our signaling applications. To understand the importance of range in commercial wireless, you need to understand the components and characteristics of wireless systems and how different the physical attributes can affect the system. At our core, we have our transmitter power, which is how loud you shout, how well you deal with physical obstacles and RF interference, our interference immunity, how well you listen, such as our receiver sensitivity, and all of this can affect wireless system performance. Maybe the most important takeaway for security applications is to make sure you understand the difference of signal propagation and using the right kind of wireless to make your project a success. Here are some additional things to consider when discussing range and some common ways that wireless signal transmission can be affected. In the first group, we have our wood, glass, drywall, which will have minimal effect, if any, on your transmitting radio signals. Our second group, your metal boxes, wire mesh, chain link fences, this can all be seen as a solid metal to radio wave, which will cause the signal to reflect. Now, sometimes this can help or possibly hurt the signal ability to get to the receiving application. And our third group is anything that has water or once had water, and it tends to absorb or attenuate the signal. The key takeaway here is being aware of how differing environments affect the signal propagation, and this will help you design and install a successful job. Here's why this matters. Residential construction is generally transparent to radio waves, your wood, glass, and drywall. Commercial construction is generally absorbent or reflective to radio waves. Concrete, steel mesh, rebar are all common in your commercial projects. So again, understanding the strengths and weaknesses and the unique characteristics of wireless technologies and systems will help you to help your customer. So remembering waveforms. To show the practical reason of why the wavelength is important, here's a visual of our 900 MHz and 300 MHz. This picture represents a concrete wall with rebar embedded in the concrete. A quarter of a wavelength of space is required for a transmission to pass through a reflective material like the metal construction grids created by rebar and concrete. An analogy would be that 900 MHz wavelength is about the size of a baseball versus a basketball for your 300 MHz signal. So what does all this mean? 300 MHz may work great in residential, where construction is primarily wood and sheetrock, but in commercial, where concrete and metal are prevalent, that smaller 900 MHz wavelength is necessary to get through more reflective materials and smaller spaces. The physics of RF favor 900 MHz propagation in commercial installations because the wavelength is shorter. This is why you may have experienced subpar performance of 300 or 433 MHz in commercial installations. Now, what is frequency hopping spread spectrum? In a narrow or single band technology, you have one channel for transmission which can be blocked easily if interference exists in that band. Frequency hopping spread spectrum technologies have multiple channels to transmit those redundant messages with frequency diversity, which is like your different channels, and even time diversity, randomizing and variable periods between those repeating messages. The bottom line is a frequency hopping spread spectrum message has a much better chance to get to the receiver than a single or narrow channel technology commonly found in wireless technologies designed for residential usage. Now here we show one of the key attributes of a 900 MHz system, not needing excessive bandwidth, which helps to give excellent receiver sensitivity and the ability to receive every message. When Inovonics systems are designed and installed to our recommended specifications, customers can expect an alarm capture rate of 99.99999% of the time, actually meeting or surpassing the reliability of wired systems. Let's talk about battery life and why it's important in commercial systems. As you can see from this visual, long battery is extremely important for the endpoints in commercial wireless systems to meet the performance and maintenance expectations of the customer, and generally should be measured in years. Due to the small data payload size and small amount of time that we are on air to send an alarm signal, Inovonics wireless systems are designed for excellent battery life. Recall from our previous discussion on using a higher frequency, those shorter wavelength technologies, is preferred to move signals through commercial installations. This might lead anyone to believe the smallest wavelength and highest frequencies possible may be even better. But as you go up the electromagnetic spectrum to smaller wavelengths and higher frequencies, moving these waves requires more power and makes battery-operated components less viable. Inovonics 900 MHz systems utilize a waveform that doesn't require excessive amount of energy and current draw and provides appropriate battery life for wireless systems. Here we see two key attributes of using repeaters in wireless networks: extending range and getting around interference. Range, hops, and scalability can mean a lot of things in wireless. Understanding the performance of different technologies in commercial settings, validating and building or the actual site range of components, and knowing any limitations of how different systems deploy repeaters can be crucial for a successful installation. The top image here is a simple view of how the small network of repeaters can listen and amplify the signal to assure the signal gets back to the receiver and head-end system. Whereas the image on the bottom shows us how repeaters can help get around obstacles, such as different types of equipment. In this example, we have an ATM. Others might be concrete, stone, or metal. Some systems do not scale well to system design constraints. Some systems only allow a small number of repeaters, and others have repeaters that don't a hop limit. All of these are less than optimal when you're scaling systems to cover a large area, building, or even a campus of buildings. Inovonics has an intelligent mesh network that allows the repeaters to talk to each other and a designed architecture without the restrictions of many other wireless systems on transmitter to repeater communication or limits on the number of repeaters or hop counts. There are many successful Inovonics installations with hundreds of repeaters easily scaling in comparable distances in areas, buildings, or entire campuses. Our final point in this section: a number of challenges can arise when your network is managed by others outside of security and when the primary function is not security or life safety applications. It is a good idea to select a network that is built for purpose and dedicated to your security and life safety. So what does all this mean? To review, we reside in the FCC-approved ISM band. Inovonics Wireless has an appropriate sized wavelength to make it through the concrete and steel of your commercial projects. The combination of small message packets and short on-air times allow for long battery life. A wide range of channels to avoid interference using frequency hopping spread spectrum. The ability to scale for larger installations using our repeaters with intelligent design architecture, and having a security hardened, fit for purpose wireless, your separate dedicated network. Putting all these together, and Inovonics 900 MHz wireless hits that sweet spot for success in commercial wireless installations. So to quickly summarize, here are some key points that we hope you take away from this section to help give you a blueprint for success in commercial installations. Let's now talk about how understanding and utilizing wireless can help your business. These next several slides should give you some specific thoughts on why expanding your wireless capabilities and understanding the difference in wireless technologies can help to expand or solidify your business. There may be a little redundancy, but we think you'll find some compelling reasons for adding more Inovonics wireless as another arrow in your quiver. Such things as increasing your revenues, expanding customer base with new applications, becoming more competitive, and being more relevant and safe in the world of COVID. Wireless can increase profitability for a variety of reasons, including reducing installation time and exposure for your customers and your installation teams. Wireless can also be much more adaptable to changing floor plans and retrofit jobs or system updates, as well as reacting to needs of your customers. In the reality of commercial settings today, that's everybody. A national security integrator once shared with us that wireless intrusion jobs were generally in the 90% range for accuracy compared to around 60% accuracy for wired jobs. Therefore, minimizing bid risk, also helpful for coordinating contractors and installations, and making your job more repeatable and predictable for multi-site customers. Older or historical buildings have a number of unique challenges, such as accommodating specialized building construction, potentially avoiding asbestos. Knowing when to use wireless makes you more knowledgeable in problem-solving situations and more valuable to your customer as a trusted partner. Just say no to the jackhammer. Your customers will appreciate that you are utilizing wireless technology to reduce cost, danger, and disruption during the installation. In places where Inovonics Wireless excels are such as additions to your existing systems, mobile applications, avoiding asbestos, high ceilings with no lift required, among plenty others. The sky and your creativity are the only limits as to where you may deploy wireless systems. Nearly every commercial project in all of the vertical markets you serve will have a need for wireless. Challenge yourself to look for wireless opportunities to up your game. For examples as why increasing your sales by understanding how wireless allows you to offer your customers more. When on new jobs, already quoting a job, wireless flexibility will allow you to be more consultative when working with your customers. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you were able to take some great information away from this presentation.
Thanks, John. That was great. So taking a look here, we do have some questions. And folks, if you want to go ahead and use the chat feature to ask questions or the Q&A section, there's also a little hand signal. If you want to raise your hand, you can verbally ask a question too. But I'll just start going through these for you. Okay, first question. How did Marconi use wireless?
So I'll take that one, John. So he obviously had a long career and did multiple things with it, but probably one of the most kind of unique and really groundbreaking ways that he used that was for signaling off the Titanic. When the Titanic, hit the iceberg, and they actually had a system designed by Marconi on board that helped them actually get to that ship, and were able to save some of the people on that ship. So a really critical communication very early on.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so next question. What is a mesh network and how does it work?
So a mesh network, refers to our repeater network. There are different ways that systems repeat a signal or amplify the signal. Try, ultimately the goal is to get back to the head end. A mesh network has an intelligence built in with the repeaters so that they can talk to each other. If one should fall out, they can fill in that dead space. And just by the design, a good, logical, intelligent design, that's the difference in maybe that message getting back to the head end or not. So some of the design architecture that we shared with you that's built into the Inovonics system is unique and really makes us stand out from a rage perspective and an alarm capture rate, a very high alarm capture rate in our design specification.
Okay, and I think this one kind of plays upon that last question. Is the Inovonics system based on any other mesh network? Does it follow that the failure of a module is evident?
I'm not quite sure, but part of the design of a mesh network is that if a repeater should fail, that if the design is to the specifications that we recommend, those other repeaters, the neighboring repeaters, would have the ability to fill in that space, for some period of time until that could be checked. So that is a design component. It is a proprietary design that we have out there, but it would be probably similar to mesh network architecture in general.
Okay, great. Next question. Is there an easy to use site survey kit still? And also, is it free to the dealer?
Yeah, so we've over the years, we've had a couple of options in the way of site survey kits. We have an older version that has a lot of capability built in where you can register multiple transmitters, multiple repeaters, and really lay out very large sites with some great specificity. In the last several years, we've released a survey kit and app, which is a downloadable app for your phone. Then the kit itself has a mobile receiver that you would carry. Dropping a transmitter at the head end and walking away and seeing that signal drop off would give you the ability to identify where to put those repeaters. So another element that really reduces your bid risk, makes it much more I think real world to be able to propagate that signal on your customer site. And many times people use it as a sales tool. It really kind of rings true with the customer if they can see that site, see what that signal's doing on site, and gives a lot of I guess confidence in the system that they'll have the ability to appropriately cover it.
Okay, great.
Yes. Second part, are those free? The survey kit and app was designed at a price point where you could bring those in at a fairly low cost for your teams. But we do have loaner programs. Our customer service or our territory sales managers have loaners as well. So if that's a constraint for you, don't let it be. We'll help you out any way we can.
Okay, great. Next question is, how does Inovonics compare to DSC Neo Wireless?
So those systems are in the same realm, in the 900 megahertz to the best of my knowledge. They are similar, but several points throughout the presentation today, there are specific elements that you want to be aware of, and I'll kind of put that back on the audience a bit. Do your due diligence. Learn about the differences in systems, very specifically around how those systems scale, and I think that's where you'll see Inovonics kind of setting the curve a bit above the normal, just their ability to scale to very large sites, tens if not hundreds of repeaters when necessary, and the way that our repeaters talk to each other, that transmitters can talk to an entire network versus some of those constraints that we spoke to during the presentation. So I don't know every difference between systems, but I will challenge the audience to take yourself to the next level and learn a little bit about the competition, but I think you'll see that Inovonics comes out on top generally for range, reliability, and just a record of performance.
Okay, this looks like it might be our last question. What is ISM and what does unlicensed mean?
Okay, ISM band is, ISM stands for Industrial, Scientific, and Medical Band. So that's a specific set of radio band that was set aside for those applications, for those industries. The FCC manages the radio frequency band, and there can be licensed or unlicensed. So you'll see cell carriers where it would be licensed. You know, they have a specific right to specific radio bands because they have purchased the licensing for that. And as you would think, you know, FM radio, AM radio, things like cell phones, they need to be able to have that specific band available for their application. Where unlicensed, it's a little bit more open to people to design and do different things. So that's where we reside, is in that ISM unlicensed band.
All right, well, fantastic. I think that was all of our questions. Perfect. All right, well, with that, I guess, Eric, you can close it up with your winners for today.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, John. Great job, and thanks for sharing some of the key concept to raise everybody's wireless expertise. Quick advertisement for John as our lead trainer. Please contact your territory sales manager or John and the technical services team, or even visit our virtual events link on our website if you're interested in additional training for you or your team. We've got a wide variety of resources ranging from pre-recorded technical videos to live custom sales or technical trainings, really designed to the needs of your team. So please reach out to us. We'd love to do more with you, and we can totally customize to whatever your needs are. With that, our coffee cup winners, or coffee card winners, I should say, for today for signing up or attending the presentation: Phil Hamlin with Secure Alert, Tim Staley with RS2, and Rod Webb with Interface Systems. Great. Thanks again for joining and taking some time to up your game in the wireless world. Good selling and good day. Cheers.